Welcome back. Now, overseas demand for oranges and lemons has given South Africa a juicy export record of 203 million. 15-kilogram cartons of these citrus fruits were exported this season. Now, President Trump's tariffs did squeeze a little bit out of this industry this time around, as tariffs only kicked in as the export season was ending. What are we likely to see when that impact starts weighing in, though? Joining us, Thabile Nkunjana, agricultural economist in the agro-food chains markets and economic research division at the National Agricultural Marketing Council. He joins us now with his analysis. Thabile, good to chat to you on Business Lunch. I mean, these are great figures. We are worried about those tariffs, but what's driving those massive figures?
Good afternoon to you, Ray, and of course the Business Day viewers. So the main fears, as we all know, that there has been tariff issues related to our exports to the US specifically. So these numbers, they really came, as a surprise to a lot of us, particularly given the fact that even from our, projections, they were very far from those. So then this means then that there was quite some differences in terms of what we expected and then what the market offered. And then in terms of what drove these exports, partly it has been the fact that the Northern Hemisphere countries, which includes the likes of Turkey, the Spain, the US and others, their season ended a bit earlier on, and that allowed South African exporters to be able to export relatively, larger quantities at a period where they don't normally do that. So that partly it increased, the exports at that period. And also another key factor was the fact that South Africa generally had a very good, production conditions this year. And this includes the fact that even some younger orchards that have been invested on for the past 5-6 years, they began to produce some of the yield. So that added to the volumes, which is why we are seeing this quite larger, export. And of course, another key factor was the improvement in the logistics. This is something that we have always, been commenting about in terms of it being inefficient across the ports in South Africa, particularly the Western Cape, because of the fact that sometimes in Western Cape we tend to have those winds, particularly between, the winter periods going forward to the mid-season of exporting the likes of citrus. This year, when we were in Western Cape, a lot of farmers, they were very happy about it. They were saying not much has happened. Those are some of the key, drivers right to this export number that you are seeing.
But that's great news. It really is great news. I do need to talk about those tariffs. And you say you were quite surprised. I think we all are. Was this not pre-tariffs? I mean, was this not pre the 30%? Because we're all expecting for those to bite somewhat.
Yeah, a lot of us were not seeing this number, being to this. But as I was mentioning the factors, but another key reality was the fact that, remember that the tariffs for South Africa specifically, they would start in August. And in August, the citrus industry is deep into, marketing season. So therefore, a lot of quantities have already been shipped. Some have already reached the market, some are already on the way. So when the tariffs came in, there was already progress made in terms of us exporting the key products that are going to other markets, which included the USA. But I must emphasize and mention the fact that as much as we've seen in this record, there's still some fears, particularly because of the fact that this year we kind of dodged, the tariffs, but we don't know how next year is going to look like. And also given the fact that, our competitors, the ones that I just mentioned as well, is that in the Southern Hemisphere, that their products get ready with us. They have tariffs that are way lower compared to us, the likes of Chile's and other Southern Hemisphere countries. They have tariffs around 10% compared to the 30% that we have. So those are some of the factors that are going to play in. But for now, the industry players, I'm very happy about it because it continues to sustain, everything that, the sector supports in terms of the livelihoods, the jobs, and so forth.
Yeah. Thabile, what other markets are we looking at? And that's been the big thrust of government, is to say, all right, United States, you're our third biggest trading partner. We do need you, but you've got your tariffs. Where else are we looking at? I mean, we come up against Spain and others like that, but where are we looking?
So the main driver, particularly for the citrus, as much as if we look at the broader picture, South Africa is really pushing towards the Middle East and the Asian market, because by volume and then also by promise in terms of the market size, and like that is, the consumers that are getting into the segment where they can be able to purchase these products, It is Middle East and Asia. And specifically in Asia, you can look at the likes of the Chinese, you know, the Indian market, the Japanese, the Koreans. There's a lot of talk specifically now with the citrus, but generally, even the likes of, you know, the likes of other macadamias, we are seeing a lot of growth. There's a lot of, you know, recently the minister announced that we are also have, you know, upgrading a number of stone fruit, which is quite a good because now we're in the season. But of course, the results are going to show in the next, you know, next few months. But you know, generally, those are the key market. But not to sort of say we are not really looking into others. We still want to expand in the UK market. We still want to expand in the EU market. But of course, that is going to really need us to make sure that the issues I was talking about, particularly the issues on efficiencies, when we have a space, it can be a 1 week between other markets. When that space is open, be it in EU, we have ports that can supply us, the supply chains, the logistics that are working very properly so that we can get those past few days even in between the markets. So generally, that is something that, including the US, we can never overlook it. You know, as much as we have only 5% to the US, that is very significant if you're to look at specific products, including the citrus that you're talking about, which is why we have these persisting fears for the next season.
Yeah. Well, the target now for, I think, 2032 is 260 million cartons. We've just broken over 200. Is that possible?
If everything, particularly the climate issues, you know, I remember as one thing that I mentioned is the fact that, you know, we have had quite a good season this year. And if you are to move into the provinces of Western Cape and Northern Cape, which are quite increasingly in larger, you know, investment into younger orchards, if you are to move there, you will see a lot of farmers. Some are saying that they are looking in terms of adding 10 more hectares of citrus into their production. And then now, not only that, but the other key that's going to be a driver array into this is going to be the markets themselves. Because it doesn't matter how much we expand in terms of production, if there's anything that is going to be a loss for farmers. But if we are maintaining the markets that we have, we are increasing our exposure to those markets. That's what is going to stimulate growth. And by virtue of that, we're going to see a lot of it because there's a lot of investment that has been done, a lot of younger orchards, if you are to move across the citrus areas, moving towards, you know, the Northern Cape. So we are really, you know, optimistic about it. But even the projections themselves, if we can have a season this exceptionally well, given the circumstances that this year was, then it tells you that, you know, under normal circumstances, the number trade restrictions not there, we're going to be covered and we're going to get to that number.
Let's see what happens. Holding thumbs, we can only go up. Thabile, thank you so much. I do appreciate you taking the time to chat to us. I really do. And those are good figures. That was Thabile Nkunjana, agricultural economist in the agri-food chains markets and economic research division at the National Agricultural Marketing Council.